大家好，香港時間依家係晚上差唔多10:05，收睇緊嘅係 Action World 世界頻道同埋 Facebook 直播。咁依家喺我隔離咧就有吾爾開希8個民運領袖喺度。開始
Hello， 你好，大家好，我係吾爾開希。
Yeah, that's all the Cantonese he can speak, and I'm very limited in Mandarin, so let's stick with
the common language that we share.
English.
Yes.
Yeah. It has been a few years since we last did a broadcast in
Geneva,
in
Switzerland.
Yeah, like 5-6 years ago.
That's right. Yeah.
And at that time, Hong Kong was still kind of intact. We had some sort of freedom. We don't have democracy, and friends that you and I know, Jimmy Lai,
Yes.
Joshua, Lee Chuk-yen, Ho Jun-yen, they are not in jail. But now they all are. And I'm just going to bring out the ticker.
Of course.
Yeah, just to not just do this live talk show, but to remember them, for all the suffering, for all the sacrifice they have done.
Yeah, we don't forget. We never forget. Yes.
Yeah. And, like, 今天 today's title, I put 願榮光歸香港，願榮光歸民主中國，紀念黎智英、李卓人、何俊仁、周幸彤、黃之鋒. These are people that we all know, friends of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's difficult to imagine the extreme makeover since the Guogan, the national security law.
Mm-hmm.
But they say it won't affect a lot of people. But the business people, the entrepreneurs, those who defend Hong Kong, they put them all in jail. Are you surprised?
Well, first of all, it's a nonsense to say it wouldn't affect many people. Right. If it affects one Hong Konger, it affects every Hong Kongers. So it does affect everybody. So the freedom, it's not a conditional freedom, and then not the limited freedom just for certain or majority or something. Like if the dissidents' freedom being deprived, we don't have freedom. As simple as that. Because when the minority dissidents, when they are minority, because a mature society shouldn't have so many dissidents, shouldn't have so many political activists. But you cannot just use the word minority just for the sheer numbers. Yeah. They are Hong Kongers. Then when they are being put away into prison, Hong Kong lost its freedom. That's how I see this. I often, when I'm in the West, in the US or in Europe, I often ask the people that I talk to this. I say, if the world map is drawn in two colors instead of, the world map, we see the many different colors. If the world map is drawn in two colors, one color represents the free world, and the other is enemy. Then Hong Kong changed color. We lost a city. The free world lost a city. When I was in US, I say that is not so much different from to say US lost Chicago. Or when I was in UK, I would say it's not so much from UK losing Liverpool. And then Joshua, before he was arrested, also mentioned the similar concept in Germany about Berlin. So I think this is a coercion, and to tell the Hong Kongers, the majority Hong Kongers won't be affected. Basically, it's a blunt threat to people. You want to stay in the majority silence side. Do not speak for the few who are being arrested, or you will become one of those few. So you can that's a blunt threat. How can, and then if such threat being carried out by the Hong Kong government and the directive of Beijing government, you cannot say it won't affect us. You have already been affected. You are being directly threatened, and then you are being told what to do, what not to do. Your life has been affected.
Well, I guess a lot of Hong Kongers still have a misconception that when they put all the activists, successful entrepreneurs who are pro-democracy to jail, they could still make another quick buck. And it's not the case. I mean, the extreme makeover has happened, and we are at a conference now, and we all study what happened in Tiananmen back 34 years ago, and what happened to Tibet in 1959. And I always talk about that in my channel. Don't forget Tibet. Don't forget Tiananmen, and don't forget what happened in 2019. And it's kind of present continuous tense for Hong Kong.
Yes.
Yeah, because people are leaving, and people are still being arrested because of this evil NSL.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, Hong Kong has fallen, and then but as your title in this program said, 願榮光歸香港, 民主中國,
which is difficult.
Well, but I think we are seeing some hope these days. One of the hope comes from the general direction of Washington, D.C. I criticize in United States China policy consistently in the last 30-some years. I remember the last time I said the harshest thing was in 2019 when I was invited to give a speech in the United States Capitol.
CEC, which
CECC and the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission on the day of June the 4th, 2019, which marks the 30th anniversary. I remember when I sat down, I said I was in this chamber because I was invited by the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission in 1989 after I escaped through Hong Kong to the West. I was invited by the American Human Rights Commission, Parliamentary Congressional Human Rights Commission, and then I said, it gives me no pleasure come back 30 years and tell you and say to you that I told you so. That's what I said. And then, but to my surprise, I think from that time on, I realized I am getting more audiences in the U.S., in Washington, D.C., in the U.S. Capitol. And the people are nodding their heads when I criticizing them having the wrong China policy. I hear them agreeing with me. So that's something that made me think, what happened? Well, I think, first of all, the bravery of Hong Kong people have really shocked the world. And then also to make Americans think again, like, what did we do wrong? And then year 2019 was also the time the news about Uyghur came to the West, that they realized in the 21st century, something heinous, something unacceptable is being undertaken by the Chinese Communist regime in today's world, in the 21st century. So that is also, I think, the bravery of Hong Kong, the sacrifice of Uyghur people, and then also in the last 3 years, the pandemic that had hit the street and the city of the West, that has hurt and killed friends and family of those decision makers, have finally realized that they made a mistake. So I can report to our friends watching this audio that I sense strongly from Washington, D.C., that they have made up their mind. America have made up their mind to right the wrong. In 1989, right after the Tiananmen massacre, Senior Bush, at that time as the president, sent a secret envoy to Beijing, basically told Deng Xiaoping, well, we're going to have to condemn you. You killed your innocent, peaceful...
Economic sanction.
Yes, we're going, but no,
so it's like gentlemen's
some economic sanction. We will still try to sell our Boeing to China. We will still do business with you. That's what the message Scowcroft have sent to, was it Scowcroft? I forgot. The special envoy have went to Beijing that delivered that message. And that was such a major mistake. Like the Western world not only lost one historical opportunity to push China into a world order, to becoming a responsible member of this world community. Rather, that send a very wrong message. We don't care about human rights. We only care about trade. That have made China what it is today, a direct and existential threat to the way of life of the whole world, to the civilization we're enjoying. So America, again, let me report to you, in the last 3 years, although the pandemic prohibited us traveling the most, but it didn't stop me. I was traveling a lot. I was in Washington, D.C. a lot. And then,
I saw you on Facebook a lot.
Yes, yeah. So and then that's the sense I'm getting. No, America is changing their course, and Japan has joined to change their course. And then recently we realized Korea has also Korea, South Korea. They have an enemy at their gate. They have every reason to appease China, even more reason than the United States or United Kingdom or Europe, Japan. But they also have made up their mind that if they do not face this face this enemy today as a direct confrontation, then our generations to come will face, and then in a much higher price. So I think when this decision is made, when the world decided to join Hong Kongers in their revolution a little few years late, but they are taking the side nevertheless. So I think it's a good sign, and I think it should give us some hope. And then 願榮光歸香港，願榮光歸民主中國。Yes.
Now I want to ask you.
Yes.
Like you know Jimmy.
Yes, of course.
You met Benny Tai.
Yes, and then
Joshua,
Lee Joyan from 1989.
Right.
He Junyan was my solicitor, my lawyer when I tried to enter Hong Kong, enter China through Hong Kong. He was my lawyer. Yes, they are now in prison.
Now, the question I have,
yes, please.
Actually, we have lots of mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes here.
Escape soon.
Yes.
Now, this Xia Baolang, Ha Baolong.
Yeah.
It's head of the liaison office of sorts. Well, he cherry-picked Joshua, Benny Tai, and also Jimmy Lai. These three should be punished severely. I'm afraid Mr. Lai is 75 years old.
Yes.
Do you think he got a chance to come out? What can be done? Can we use the same tactic as remember when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State? They did some sort of a deal with China and let Chen Guangqin leave China.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you think something like that can be done? And what about the UK, the new Prime Minister, Sunak? Do you think he is doing enough since Mr. Lai is a UK citizen?
Yes.
Start with Mr. Lai first. He is 75 now. The oldest inside this punishment.
Yes. And then he's a newspaper man. Come on. You don't in a civilized world take down a newspaper man, but that's exactly what a totalitarian regime afraid the most. They're afraid of a truth teller. So Mr. Lai, being a good friend and a supporter of the Chinese democracy movement, being in his 75 years old, of course, make us all worry about his health. And then we wish him emerge from prison as soon as possible. And yes, a country like United Kingdom has not just a moral obligation to do everything in their capability to rescue Mr. Lai. It's in your benefit too. I mean, it's in the UK's benefit to directly confront China on individual cases like this. Stop sending wrong messages that you're afraid of Beijing, you're afraid of Xi Jinping. Sending a wrong message only makes Xi Jinping more arrogant, that come back and eventually hurt UK more. So the right message to Xi Jinping should be, we are not afraid of you, and then we are not accepting this. If you still want to remain dialogue with us, here are the conditions that we put forward. including release of prisoners of conscience. And
there are over 200 of them.
Exactly, all of them. And then I have written an article in this year's June 4th commemoration. And then I have suggested the Western world, when try to engage with China, to put forward 4 conditions. And then we want much more than those 4 conditions. But those 4 conditions for demand should be the first step to include China in conversation, in dialogue with the world. Those 4 demands are, number 1, take down Great Firewall, the Internet Great Firewall. And then the Western world can totally do this in a context of trade. It's just not fair. The Great Firewall is blocking Facebook, Twitter, Google out of China, and then that gives China a capability to incubate those companies' adversary with Chinese market, and then to compete with those company in the world stage. That is just not fair, not coherent with WTO spirit and clauses, not just spirits. So the Western world have a clear path in making this demand. And then the second demand should be recent national security law for Hong Kong. Give Hong Kong back to the free world. That should be
retract it.
Yes, retract it. And then also, consequently, of course, release. And then the third demand is release prisoners of conscience in China, including Hong Kong. And then the fourth is take down the Uyghur concentration camp. That's ridiculous. The close down that said that these 4 conditions we put forward will, of course, address Hong Kong, address Mr. Lai, address Apple 7, address the 200 prisoners in Hong Kong these days, including Joshua Li Joyan, Ha Zhenyan, all these friends, Zhao Hangtong. They don't deserve to be there. And then the world has every right and then obligation to make their best effort to rescue them, to command those 4 conditions. And then also, importantly, you have enabled China to become what it is today. You have a political duty, obligation to right your own wrong. And then it will be in your benefit again.
Yeah, so, the Five Eyes country.
Yes. And then I think America is already on board. And then I think UK is coming around. And then I understand they want to follow and taking this close second step from US. And then US is doing it slowly. But I think we can see Mr. Lai emerge from prison and then to see Hong Kong maybe restored into a city of the free world.
Yeah. But one last thing I want to ask now, we are all predicting. Now, Mike Pence, the former vice president, it's going to be in the Republican race, the so-called
mosquitoes.
Not mosquitoes. Yeah, the primary.
Yes.
Donald Trump is leading, and then there's DeSantis, and then Nikki Haley, right? These 4. Do you think Trump will kind of compete with Joe Biden?
I'm not really an expert in American politics, and then also not a citizen, so please forgive me not commenting much on this topic. But I can report to you and then to your audience is this, that the United States is in its most plural or confrontational stage since their civil war. I mean, that's the report given by the institutions in Washington, D.C. to say how split the United States is today,
within the
but
U.S.
not within U.S., but not when it comes to China. So the description, my friends in Washington, D.C. told me the Republicans and the Democrats disagreeing on every topic like this. Whatever you say, we come head on to dispute except when it comes to China. If China at this time trying to make some fuss, these two confrontational force will join force and become united against this. They at this time agreed is a threat to the United States national security and national interest.
So we should disregard
Republican
of Hunter Biden getting deals from China. These are like minor stuff, right? But the bigger picture is both the Democrats and the Republicans, they are ready to be more confrontational with China.
Yes, and then also United States is a democracy, a very matured one. Their China policy has been long debated and agreed upon in the last few years. And then I would like to say Yang Jiechi and Wang Yi talking down to Blinken in Alaska 3 years ago was a very good help in uniting Americans. So at this time in Washington, D.C., the pro-China forces, we call them panda huggers, were completely silenced by Yang Jiechi and Wang Yi. So at this time, their China policy has already said, one person, I mean, the Hunter Biden, I'm not saying it's not important, it's minor issue. It is important. And Biden could lose his presidency, or the Democrats could lose it, and then that's good. But what I'm saying is their China policy is unlikely to be affected by single incidents like this. And then I think they have made up their mind. And then I think they are changing the direction. We have a saying to say, big boat shift slow. When they try to redivert their directions, it's going to happen slowly, or it's not going to happen overnight. And then it will be in America's best interest to also protect their investment in China by changing their direction, shifting their direction slowly. But nevertheless, they're doing it.
One last thing, more on a philosophical perspective. You are Uyghur. What is your faith religion-wise? Are you?
I'm a spiritual person.
Spiritual?
Yes, I think that will be the best way to describe it. I would like to believe in a world where there is a almighty power, the final judgment day, and then I would like to believe that we human beings, in compared to the Almighty, if there is one, where we're rather insignificant, but we were entrusted with our task, with our life. So by him, her, by the Almighty. So that's what I would like to believe. But religious-wise, Islam is, of course, one very important cultural heritage to me. I am not a practicing religious person. But I am very spiritual.
Right. And what is your highest purpose now? We're only a few months apart. You are 1968.
Yes. Same. Yes.
Yeah. What's your highest purpose now?
Well, I'm in exile, and then there is not a single day I wake up, do not remember that. And then being in exile, the highest purpose is, of course, to end this exile, to go back home and then hug my mother and ask for her forgiveness.
Have you been seeing her over the last 34 years?
No, I have not. I haven't seen my parents, my family, for the last 34 years.
That is very sad, and I hope
Thank you.
that could be achieved one day.
Yes.
Thank you, Kaishi.
Thank you.
Will,
香港人加油！我識講少少個廣東話嘅，講嘅多過我係唔要開氣，大家好咁樣。
I hope I can bring you to FCC to have lunch someday. I still have my membership there.
Oh yeah.
But very sadly, with all the changes, I wish.
I did give a speech in Hong Kong FCC in 2004, when I was allowed one time to enter Hong Kong SAR to attend Anita Mui's funeral.
Right.
At that time, during my 1 week stay, I did give a speech at FCC. I remember that vividly. A beautiful place. And then when I say beautiful place, not just FCC, really Hong Kong is a beautiful place. And it's a shame to see we lost the city. We lost it to our enemy. Let's restore the glory to Hong Kong.
And we have, I think I told you too, we have the World Hong Kong Forum, 世界香港論壇 on September 1st to 3rd. And
I'll try to do my best.
Keep in touch with you and see whether we can do something.
Certainly.
Thank you, Kachi.
多謝晒，唔該。